Good evening and welcome to the 2026 ASG Presidential Debate, brought to you by the Northwestern News Network and the Daily Northwestern. With voting opening in less than 48 hours, tonight will be a chance to hear directly from candidates representing the 4 tickets looking to lead Northwestern student government. I'm Victoria Ryan from the Northwestern News Network.
And I'm Josh Singer from the Daily Northwestern. Tonight's program will include questions from us on important issues, including transparency within ASG and funding allocations. The candidates will also answer questions from ASG representatives that were gathered from the student body. Let's meet the candidates participating in tonight's debate.
First is co-presidential candidate Jeremiah Neighbors Moore. JJ is a second year and the former ASG Senate parliamentarian. He's also the former ASG Chief Justice and head of the Rules Committee. He's running alongside second year Patrick Liaison.
Co-presidential candidate Alan Hu is a Weinberg sophomore running with CESP junior Noah Kors. Neither of them know exactly what ASG does. They are ready to find out.
Next is co-presidential candidate Gauri Adarsh. Gauri is a third year and the current ASG Finance co-chair. She's also served on the Analytics Committee. She's running alongside third year John Sisko.
Finally, co-presidential candidate Nicholas Johnson. Nick is a second year and the current ASG marketing chair. He is running alongside third year Nora Yallenbas, who has served as the Weinberg senator and is currently the senator for the Muslim Cultural Students Association.
So now we have heard the intro submitted by the candidates. All candidates have agreed that each team will have 1 minute uninterrupted to answer each question. They will also have up to 30 seconds to respond if we ask a follow-up question or if another candidate mentions them by name.
We've got a lot to get to, so let's jump right in. Each team will have a minute and a half for their opening statement. Let's start with you, JJ. The floor is yours.
First off, thank you everyone at home for tuning into this debate and being such active members of the community. We also appreciate NNN and the Daily for setting this up today. My name is JJ, and me and my running mate Patrick are running on the simple reality that when it comes down to the wire, this university will not defend your rights. Northwestern, like any other private institution, is a business. And if that business has to sacrifice the rights of students in order to make profit, they will do it without any problem. Time and time again, we have seen this university preach about its commitment to things like diversity and protecting trans students, protecting international students. And yet, the moment when the university comes under pressure, it caves, leaving students wondering, who will speak up for them? That is why we are running for president. Students deserve strong voices who will relentlessly use their platform to call out the university on its harmful actions, to recognize and fight against national issues that affect the student body, and most importantly, to defend students' rights. For that reason, the only choice left is JJ and Patrick. We have demonstrated without fail that we have the qualities to lead. We have worked with ASG Senate to author and pass resolutions, assessing and addressing quality of life in dorms, collaborating with organizations, and overall, we will stand with the people that require it most. We are the best choice for this election.
Thanks, JJ. Alan?
Good evening, everybody. What's up, nerds? And you are a nerd for tuning into this stream. You may come to us this evening afraid. Afraid of what, you ask? Afraid of progress? Afraid of us, afraid of truth, and afraid of what we represent. The truth is here that we might seem like a joke campaign, we might seem like clowns, but the real clowns in this room are the people running for ASG. The real clowns in this room are the fellow people who believe that this election is a very serious matter, because the truth of the matter here is that ASG has no power when our interim president, Henry S. Bowden, decides to say, no, ASG. What do these people do? They just decide, yes, daddy, yes, yes, president, give it to me harder. Because what are we doing? We're just little dolls of this Henry Bowden guy, and we have no real power. So what I am doing here today is exposing that this is the real clown show, that this election does not matter, that nothing in this room is really that important or deep, and the only way we can change this is by gathering all the students together and being united as one.
Thank you. Next up, Gauri.
Thank you, Alan. While I disagree with some of your points, and thank you, NNN and the Daily. But I want to talk about what Northwestern is feeling right now. Exhaustion. After talking to student leaders across this campus over the course of John and Mai's campaign, that's what I've taken away from every conversation. Exhaustion with the complete lack of accountability from administration. Exhaustion with the fact that a document that took months of protest to create could get annulled without a second thought. Exhaustion caused by a fear that a transgender friend might lose access to healthcare, that a family member could be torn away by ICE. Let's be honest, we're all a little burnt out of being afraid all the time. I'm so sad that our student government has failed to protect our friends and our neighbors, and I know many of you feel the same way. But sadness is not the solution. Student protest has always been the engine of change, but it burns people out when it's everyone for themselves. Let's build a coalition. Let's meet every 2 weeks to align priorities and teach people how to utilize ASG. We can work together to share our resources with those in need. When my parents came to this country alone, to a country that hated them, community was the way that they found joy. And I pledge to give that strength to our communities. I know student government has let you down. I've been in those rooms and I know what it feels like to not have your voice heard. But as president, I won't let that happen again. I'm not asking you to trust ASG. I'm asking you to trust John and trust me, because we will fight and truly fight to turn it into something that actually has your back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gowrie. Nick?
Northwestern has long described itself as a student's first university. Yet to many of us, we have felt the gap between that promise and our daily reality. The phrase students first should mean that this institution sees us as whole people, our safety, stability, aspirations, not simply as names moving towards graduation. Noor and I believe that Northwestern can do better, and we're running to build a campus that puts you first, not just as a metric. That means standing up for students who fear immigration enforcement and need clear protection and resources, not silence and uncertainty. It means restructuring mental health services so that students don't get turned away for problems that they say are not big enough. You first means making something as basic as transportation safe, so providing bus shelters so that students are not waiting in negative 30 degrees unprotected. You first also means ensuring the safety of our affinity spaces, because we did not come to this university to lose parts of who we are. We came to grow, to cultivate our talents and gain louder voices so that one day we might be able to make change in this world. We know that this university is capable of more, and we refuse to accept the status quo is enough. Our campaign is about accessibility, feasibility, but most importantly, the accountability of building structures that listen, respond, and care. We know we are the right people to get the job done, so trust Nick and Noor to be the nurturing this university needs just in the nick of time. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now beginning with our first question, there seems to be a lot of confusion around the role of ASG on campus. What are you planning to do to increase visibility? Gowrie, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I 100% get you, and I know that ASG isn't as visible as it should be. So let me tell you how we're going to change it. One thing that we're going to do is provide every student group with an ASG liaison. So every student group knows exactly who to go to. We've talked about this with our student leaders, and they seem to really like this proposition. Another thing that we're going to do is do a state of the ASG every month. So that means that John and I will get in front of the cameras, get vulnerable, and we can answer any questions that you want from us, because we are here for you. Another thing is that I've heard a lot of frustration that the ASG presidential race is like the 1 week of the year where ASG all of a sudden becomes important, but that's just not going to be true with John and I. What I've said is that you're gonna get sick of us. You're gonna get sick of us getting emails in your inbox all the time, asking for input on policy, asking for input on allocations, asking for coming to a coalition meeting, something of that nature. We are going to be there all the time. So hopefully that addresses that problem.
Thank you. Alan?
Now, a lot of people think that our candidates sitting next to me are actually going to implement these policies that they're talking about. I will assure you that I promise you nothing. I promise you that I will not do a single thing. In fact, I will resign if I am elected, because ASG doesn't do anything. The finance committee is the only part of ASG. We might as well get rid of student government and call it student finance committee. Like, what else does ASG really do other than give student orgs money? They are not for the people. They are for whatever the student government wants to give however they want to distribute the money. This is not something that like we should take lightly. We should not just listen to how many people every year they say the same things and nothing ever changes.
Next up, JJ.
While I disagree with the overall sentiment, I do agree with one of those first parts. You said that ASG representatives will not do anything they promise. Well, one of the things that I noticed last debate is that some of the presidential candidates came onto stage promising that they would address the Senate as well as the public in like monthly State of the Unions, saying that they would give all the information about the projects they're working on and all that. And then once elected, they didn't do that. I think it is an incredible issue that we as a government are not constantly, openly, and publicly communicating about the stuff we are working on and the issues that you students care about. Visibility when it comes to student government is imperative because it gives us the legitimacy and it gives you guys the information that you guys need to navigate the issues on campus. So as presidents, me and Patrick promised, like Gary said, to be well, you'll get sick of us. We'll be everywhere talking all the time and making sure that you guys know that we are helping you.
Nick?
Yes, thank you. I think that for me, this is something that's extremely realistic. I've been working on this for the last year as the ASU marketing chair. And I believe that the work that we've done so far has been good, but there's so much room for growth. One of the things that we've been working on, I spoke to current President Jamal about, is trying to speak to Senate and being active and being there as much as possible. But I think the only way that we can truly provide confidence to you guys as the students of Northwestern is with action. So right now, if you have your phone, if you're watching this debate, call 872-254-3890 and leave us a message, and we will start listening to you right now, right here. Thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. How do you define your leadership style, and what is your plan to work with the next ASG Senate to make sure that collaboration is better and productivity is as well? Alan, let's start with you.
I'd like to start with a story of how I like to collaborate with people. So I took a study abroad in Uganda, and when we went to, me and my friend decided to take a weekend trip to this Jewish village. And in there were like Jews, and we spent Shabbat with them. And at the end of, and on the Sunday, it was one of their birthdays. And turns out they had never had a birthday cake in their lives. They were 20 years old, and they had never had a birthday cake. So we decided that we were going to bring them into the city. We were gonna buy them a birthday cake, and he was so happy. He was overjoyed. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Thanks. JJ, you've got 60 seconds.
Well, when it comes to our leadership style, we believe that it is Senate, as people who have worked in the Senate, that it is an imperative that you stay constantly connected to the students that are best representing their constituents. The Senate is made up of club senators as well as school senators, all that come with different perspectives and have different experiences when it comes to the policies that they want to write about and the people they represent. So when it comes to our leadership style, we'll specifically focus on making sure that Senate resolutions actually do things. Some of the issues that a lot of people have is that people will pass resolutions saying, oh, they don't like dorm quality, and it'll never go anywhere. But as presidents, we will make sure to work closely with those senators to connect them to the administrators that we meet weekly or monthly so that those projects can always get done. We having the experience necessary as Senator Pryor, I worked to establish better heating conditions for the West Fairchild basement. And that was with my constant work with promoting, and we can do the same for every senator.
And Nick?
I would describe my leadership style, or me and Noor's leadership style, as extremely collaborative. I have been doing leadership in student government since I was 11 years old in 5th grade, and I've always loved hearing the opinions of everyone around me. When it comes to collaboration with Senate, I think I've already shown a little bit this year that I'm completely prepared to start working with them. I show up to every single meeting, and I'm speaking with these senators about exactly what it is that they need. But yeah, just to break it back down, yeah, it was collaboration.
Thanks. Gowrie, you're up.
Thank you. I want to say that John and I, our leadership style, the best thing I can think of is people who have done it. We have helped out every student group on campus. We have tried our best, and we have also met with the president, the VP of Student Affairs, the provost. We meet with these people regularly. We know how to help. We know the system. And so we're people who can kind of get into the position and have somewhat of a faster learning curve. But I also want to say that in terms of working with Senate, Jamal, the current president, and John and I have worked on making resolutions with concrete names, timelines, and people in exec that will address the resolution and what exactly to do. Along with that, we're thinking about making a legislation tracker similar to Georgetown, where students can observe the legislation happening in Senate every day. So hopefully with these kinds of things, we can really increase that collaboration and continue our work as leaders.
Now, there has been a lot of uncertainty on campus surrounding funding with the recent deal with the Trump administration to restore federal funding and ASG's new policy that allows student groups to petition to reallocate funding if their needs change. As president, how would you be sure to allocate funds most effectively and efficiently? JJ, start us off.
Well, first of all, we cannot allocate funds effectively if the students and the clubs that need the funding aren't there right with us. Currently, as it operates, a lot of the allocation of funding happens behind closed doors. No one really knows how a lot of the funding is allocated other than the people who are directly working on these private meetings. That has to change. It is ridiculous that we are using your own money for the student activities fees and allocating it in a completely private way without letting you guys know how we're doing it. As presidents, me and Patrick will make sure on our first day and for this funding cycle to do everything we can to make every single allocation meeting of SAFC public so that all the clubs who are having their money allocated can be right there with the people who are allocating it, and they can see exactly how those debates, how those conversations, and how all of that is moving. That is the best way to effectively allocate money, the most visible and the most transparent way.
Thanks, JJ. Nick?
I think the best way to go about funding, it's breaking down into two things, education or educating and collaborating. So one of the policies that Noor and I have worked on during this campaign was working on expanding education on how to get funding, how to apply for funding, how to appeal funding if you don't feel like you're getting enough. We want to expand that policy, and we want to make sure that student orgs are educated on exactly how it is that they can go about getting funding here at Northwestern. And then on this topic of collaboration, one of the things that we've also said that we would like to do if we were elected to be ASG presidents is to try to use the connections that we have with people in the board, with people in the admin, to try to connect organizations with people in the Evanston area in order to ensure that if we can't provide the funding because our funding is finite, that they are able to get funding from other avenues. Thank you.
Okay, Gowrie?
As the current finance chair and somebody who's worked in finance for my entire time at student government, I love the finance committee. The way that we work, the way that we try to allocate. We have a large committee, all of who are from different parts of the community. Additionally, we host interviews with every student group and treasurer if they want to meet with us. We also host an appeals process. So if student groups are unhappy with their allocations, they can come to us and get that corrected. John was the one who started the new policy for vouchers being able to be used for different things. It's something that we're very proud of because a lot of student groups have difficulty having allocations in the spring and then having that money all the way until spring of the next year. It can be difficult to predict funding changes. And so something that we would do as president is continue to work upon that already existing knowledge and then continue to improve the finance committee in terms of research and really researching for equity purposes. But I'm proud of the work we've done.
Thanks, Gowrie. And Alan?
Oh, sorry, I was scrolling Instagram reels. Anyways, so, blah, blah, blah. Look, at the end of the day, you guys are talking about like transparency and like appeals. At the end of the day, I don't really want to go to an ASG finance meeting if I don't have to. And, you know, like, I don't think anyone really bothers to go to one of these. So I'll lay it flat. What I am going to do with the money is I'm going to spend it on all allocated to my goals of demolishing tech, of putting deer on deering, of annexing U Chicago. And I might be getting muted, but you know, it's okay. If they want to mute me, they mute me, whatever, who cares? At the end of the day, I am talking, and this is what I want to do with the money.
To conclude the first portion of the debate, we end with this question. What sets you apart from the other tickets? Nick, kick us off.
I think one of the things that separates us from the other tickets is our real world experience. One of the things that we talked about when we were starting our campaign was all the amazing things that we've been able to do in the real world. Like I said, I've been doing student government, but I've also been part of the youth in government program. And through that, I've lobbied for legislation on the actual Capitol Hill. I've spoken with my state governor, Gavin Newsom, about actual legislation about lowering the voting age in California. I've done these things in real life, and I believe that we can translate that here to Northwestern. And Noor, she's been doing work here as well. She has been advocating for halal dining, so she has experience talking with administration. She's also been advocating for trying to get a house for MENA students. So I think that the thing that sets us apart is that we have that real world experience. And I think while having student government experience is great, I think having real world experience sets you just a little bit farther apart. Thank you.
Gowrie, you're next.
Thank you. I think what sets us really apart, John and I, is the fact that we talk to student leaders every single day. We've talked to student leaders since day one. When it comes to, for example, FMO, we helped them get rollbacks of more than $25,000 to help host their day-to-day events. We also expanded the new student organization funds by thousands of dollars due to the requests of new student organizations needing more funding to get their events off the ground and their people getting to be able to bond. We have listened to student leaders every day, and now with this campaign, we have reached out to every person we know that has expertise in their fields, asking them for advice on policy, asking them for advice on how to best address these issues, because John and I might not know how to do it the best. That's true, but a good leader knows who to contact to make it happen. And I think that that's what we've really been trying to do.
Thanks, Gowrie. Alan?
I've been taking a theory of knowledge class, and one thing that we've really been talking about is when should we question the things that we are told? In other words, should we blindly believe what others are telling us? And when I look around at my other presidential candidates, I see one common thing. They're all somehow involved in politics, and furthermore, when they get elected president, they're going to put this on their LinkedIn, and they're going to be saying, wow, I'm student government president, you should hire me. Well, I'm a math major. I have no ulterior motives. If they see that I'm student government president on my LinkedIn, they're not going to want to hire me. They're going to think this guy's been wasting his time being student government president. So that's why you should listen to me, because I'm more trustworthy than these guys around me.
Okay, JJ?
You know, I think what sets us apart from the other candidates on this stage is actually, again, related to what you were saying. I think one of the biggest issues that I have is that people in ASG are not willing to go the full mile when it comes to opposing the dangerous initiatives taken by the university, especially when it comes to the deal with the Trump administration, for fear of maybe their own careers or their standing at the university. What sets me and Patrick apart is that we will do everything in our power to fight for you, the students, no matter how it affects our job standings in the future. Because that's why you elect us. That's why you would elect any candidate, to represent you in the best way possible, no matter how hard they will have to fight. And as candidates and as presidents, we will do everything in our power to make sure that the university is held accountable for the dangerous actions that they may take that could harm the students. Thank you.
When we come back, 2 representatives from ASG will be here to ask some of the questions submitted by the student body.
Don't go anywhere. You're watching the 2026 ASG Presidential Debate.
Trying to work my way out of the prison system was the most difficult challenge of my life. It only became tangible once I became a Northwestern student.
One, two, three, four.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back to the 2026 ASG Presidential Debate. I'm Enzo Banal, former ASG Chief of Staff.
And I'm Ryan Beam, ASG's Election Commissioner. We've solicited questions from the student body, so let's get right to it. Question is, what are the most important policies and actions you wish to take if elected ASG President? Nick, you're up first.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's so many different things that we would like to accomplish, and I think that goes for everyone on this stage. But I think our platform breaks down, we want to get the little things done, right? So the first thing we would love to do, we would love to tackle those buses. Another one was a really big policy that we worked on for quite a while. We talked with over 30 students on campus just about their experience, and that's related to dining. So we would like to allow for students who have dietary restrictions to get some sort of grocery stipend so that when they're at Northwestern, right, they still have the ability to eat. Because I've talked to so many people and they're like, I go to the dining hall and the only thing that we have to eat is cereal. The only thing we have to eat is cereal. And so, like, as we said, right, we want to start with you first, right? And so if we're going to do that, we need to start with basic nourishment. So I think that dining policy and for sure those buses we would like to get done. Thank you.
Thank you. JJ?
Okay, so one of the most in our campaign is based around the center of student rights. Your right to feel free from discrimination from the university or discrimination from the White House. One of our first policies that we would like to take is the immediate opposition to the Northwestern's original deal with the Trump administration and making it clear that we disagree with very key points, specifically when it comes to the removal of change of a lot of trans language, as well as the jeopardy it puts international students in. Another one of our policies we would like to focus on is reopening the debate for queer housing. I've talked to a lot of student leaders when it comes to worries about how trans students feel discriminated against when they get into a room with someone who, may attack them or something like that. And there have been many instances of that happening along campus. So I think it's really important that we reopen those negotiations, as well as overall anything that focuses on the discrimination of students.
Thank you. Alan?
I don't have a lot of policies. I just have 4. First, nobody at Northwestern likes tech. So let's get rid of it. Let's demolish it. Second, well, Deering Meadow is named after a deer, I suppose, and there are no deers on Deering, so why don't we put deers there? Third, UChicago is our opponents, but I think importantly, we need to annex UChicago. Fourth, Jeffrey Epstein, we need to.
Now let's go to Gari.
Thank you so much.
I have been cut off! I have been cut off, and I have been muted, and I have been silenced.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Alan. Okay. Okay. I am so excited to be asked this question because John and I have so many things we want to get done. On the first day itself, we have written up legislation that'll get into place queer housing. We've already talked to the Rainbow Alliance senator, and we've tried to really understand what our queer students need on this campus. We also want to make sure that during the housing selection process, you can select whether you identify as transgender so that it can be more comfortable for you. You can be selected with a roommate, that is just more of a comfortable space. We also want to release an open letter to the Northwestern administration, making it very clear we are not okay with the capitulation to the Trump administration. So we'll be releasing that on the first day. Additionally, we'll be instituting legal resources for our undocumented and international students. This is something somebody on our team, Kathy Novu, has been working extremely hard on, and so we'll continue that work. But you can expect all of that on our first day, and you can expect to see that policy very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. We just want to remind all candidates to please stay on topic. Here is our next question. What are your biases and how will you overcome them to better serve all students of Northwestern? Alan, start us off.
I have a lot of biases. My main bias is against ASG, NNN, and the Daily. And I really will need to work together with them in order to have a successful presidency. But if they continue to not let me to express who I am, to not let me to express how to wear what I want to wear, and if they continue to cut off my words, then I will not stand for this. Because we are a country, this is a country based on free speech, and if you continue to cut off my free speech, then I think this goes completely against what the student government should stand for, and I think this completely goes against Northwestern as a whole.
Gary?
Thank you, Alan. When I think about the biases that I hold, I can't think of anything that is substantial. I've worked with student groups of all different kinds, of all different sizes, and so has John. We've helped provide millions of dollars in funding since the time that we were instituted in. We have increased allocations by $1.5 million to student groups all across campus. I think that any biases that I were to host, I don't believe that that would ever interfere with my policy making, because I have a cabinet and an executive branch that has just as much power as we do. They can mitigate, they can litigate what we want to do, and they can kind of make their voices heard. Of course, there are communities that John and I aren't part of, and we understand that, but we want as much representation from those communities as possible, which is why we're making a summit for our J&I, Justice and Inclusion, for our affinity leaders to meet with J&I regularly. Thank you.
And Nick?
I think the only bias that I have is a bias for good Northwestern, because I think that having a campus that is for the students is the most important thing here at Northwestern, right? We pay so much money to be here. So my bias is towards the students. And how do I think that would affect my policy making? It would base it all on each and every one of you. Affinity spaces, dining, transportation, weather protocol. These are all things that we have in our policy. Oh, expanding library hours down south for people who are not near mud. Like, there's so many different things that we want to do. And again, like I said, no inherent bias except for the students. My job is not to appease the administration. My job is not to be liked by the president at this university. My job is to serve each and every one of you, and that's what Noor and I will do from day one. Thank you.
JJ, you're up.
I will admit today, right here, right now, that I am biased. Biased for the students at Northwestern, and I'm sorry for all of the administrative members and higher-ups that may not like that. But unfortunately, I care only about the quality of life that our students have at this university. I think it is ridiculous that this university, which clearly focuses on profit, is spending money on vanity projects, like new stadiums and other ridiculous outputs, when there are still students on campus who are paying $90,000 a year. This is the second most expensive institution in the country, and we still have students living in Jones. As president, one of my first jobs will be to talk to each individual dorm and go and overall discuss with people who live in, let's say, lesser quality dorms, and talk about the issues that they're facing currently, especially when it comes to amenities, and so that we can help work to improve those in the coming future.
Thank you all. Our next question is, as the primary liaison between the Board of Trustees and the student body, how will you promote transparency and accountability between these groups, and eventually with the future president of Northwestern? Gary, we'll start with you.
I want to be very clear when we say this. We are students first. That's why we talk to student leaders all the time, and every conversation we've had, we've been hearing that students feel like ASG can't help them, like Northwestern can't help them. It's simply not true. We can do so much better than this. And one thing is that in the previous presidential administration, we tried to fight to get a seat on the presidential search committee, and that didn't work. But I am actively, and John is as well, participating in a listening session with ASG Executive Board tomorrow to help find the newest leader of this amazing school. I also want to say that going forward, John and I will be very clear in writing open letters and writing resolutions against the administration, so then they know the students' feelings on this. We are liaisons between the Board of Trustees and the student body, but we are student body first, and we will protect you guys with everything that we have. Thank you.
Alan?
I will fight with my life for the student body. I will give everything I have so as not to simply bend over to this whoever the president is going to be next year. And I will make sure that my policies are actually implemented in this.
JJ?
You know, I will admit, it's a little bit difficult to work with the administration when they refuse to give us representation on things like the Presidential Search Committee. However, it is a necessity. It's a clear necessity for the betterment of students at Northwestern that we need to have both a working relationship with the administration and the Board of Trustees as well as the students. So, using the opportunities that being president gives you, whether or not that's the weekly meetings with the Vice President of Student Affairs, as well as the quarterly or monthly meetings with the president that are possibly coming up, these are opportunities where we can negotiate and give those leaders hard lines on where our students lie on issues. And in the instance that they don't, that they say no to whatever issue is affecting the student body, then we will instantly go public. We will not compromise on the clear and unalienable rights of the students of this campus. We will see us on every news channel, every paper, every resolution possible arguing for your rights.
And Nick?
Yes, I just want to start off by being very, very, very clear. Yes, we are students here at this university, but we are people first. You are a human being, and your value does not come from your ability to perform at a university, right? But when it comes to transparency with the administration, I think the key is going to be persistence, because again, like I just said, we are not here to be liked by the new president. We are not here to be liked by the administration. We are here to advocate for each and every one of you. So if it takes sending 3 emails a day, 3 emails a night, every day for months and months and months to get things released to each and every one of you, I will do it. I am dedicated to making sure that this Northwestern experience is great for every student at this campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, given recent attacks on higher education by the Trump administration, and if any students of diverse backgrounds on campus report being afraid, in this divisive and consequential time, some students might turn to student leadership for guidance and support. What concrete actions will you take to help students, particularly those who hold targeted identities, feel safe on campus? JJ, you're up first.
Well, as I mentioned before, one of the most marginalized and attacked communities by the Trump administration has clearly been the trans community, right? Especially when you see like the burgundy cross that was put across the trans flag on the rock a little while ago. And what did we see after that atrocious event? The university said nothing. And furthermore, there wasn't even much pushback from the student government in terms of outwardly and actively condemning those actions. How can marginalized people who are feeling these attacks trickling down from the Trump administration feel protected, feel represented, feel seen if their representatives aren't even speaking about it? The concrete actions that we will take to support these marginalized communities when facing these attacks are 100% going to be first to speak up for them. We will listen to them, we will hear them, we will have meetings with them, and as immediately right after, we will do everything in our power to be the voices that they may not be able to.
Thank you. Gauri?
Let me tell you what we're going to do. Let me not waste time. Firstly, we're going to create a mechanism for ICE reporting through campus media. We're going to make sure that every student understands where ICE is locally, so then they feel protected. We are also going to start a Know Your Rights T&D that's optional, but you can opt into it if you want to know how to do that. You can also show parents and colleagues and other friends. We also want to hire translators during Welcome Week. We want to make sure that students of every language and every background with parents of every background can speak and kind of understand what's going on at this campus during that wonderful week. We also want to make sure that we host Figly info sessions for competitive clubs. That means for AK-Psi, for SDNO, for CASE, so that our students can know that if they're first generation and low income, they can approach these competitive atmospheres. John and I have a million policies just like this one, so let us get started.
Nick?
So I think the key to this one is absolutely education. One of the things that I was able to do at the end of last quarter when the ice raids were coming onto campus was one of the wonderful members of the exec board, Beto, was handing out pamphlets about knowing your rights. I was handing those out all across campus so that people knew their rights, so that they knew that ICE is not supposed to be on this campus. You are supposed to be protected, that people should not be coming and grabbing you off of the street. I think that starting there is the most important thing. I very much do agree with that idea of having education in Wildcat Welcome. In fact, that's one of the policies that we do have in our platform as well. But yes, education, and then also being very outspoken. Again, like, we have been so afraid of not being liked or not getting that job interview that we have compromised our own rights as people, as students of this university. So the most important thing other than education is being outspoken and letting people know we are there to support you in every way that we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, let's hear from Alan.
I'm gonna tell a story about how I'm going to stand up for my fellow students. So I live in Plex, which has famously thin walls, and my friend who also lives in Plex, she was telling me about how her neighbors were always being super loud, doing things that you do in your own room, right? And they were their neighbors were too afraid to speak out, to talk to this couple that was next door and tell them they were being too loud. So what did I do? When they were being loud, I went across the hallway and I decided that was enough. I was going to mimic them, I was gonna mock them, I was gonna mimic their noises, and I was going to make a fool out of them. And that's how I speak out for my fellow students. I'm going to speak for what they're too afraid to say.
Thank you all for your answers. After a short break, candidates will have the last word during closing statements.
You're watching the 2026 ASG Presidential Debate.
Trying to work my way out of the prison system was the most difficult challenge of my life. It only became tangible once I became a Northwestern student.
One, two, three, four.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back to the 2026 ASG Presidential Debate. We've heard from representatives from each of the tickets on a number of key campus issues, and now it's time to wrap things up.
Each candidate will have 90 seconds to deliver their closing statement. Let's begin with JJ.
People at home, you have heard a lot today about candidates who have championed their abilities to help represent your best interest to the university. But their policies are worthless without the spine to back it up. We have heard our student government face defeat after defeat, whether or not it's from the deal that Northwestern made recently with the Trump administration, erasing years of student negotiations, or even most recently, the refusal of the university to include undergraduate voices. And yet, who have we not heard from? Our student government. It is an imperative that in the instant that Northwestern's broader administration makes decisions that negatively affect students, that we, your elected representatives, take hard lines and hard stances against anyone who would threaten the student body. And from what I have seen tonight, only one of the groups here is going to have the guts to do that. To have the guts to stand up to officials, either directly during meetings or publicly, communicating our university's failure to support student rights, their rights to speak freely on campus issues, their rights to live in safe housing regardless of gender orientation, their rights to be fairly represented when choosing the next president. Rights are where our loyalties lie. Rights are where our priorities are. And if you elect me and Patrick as your next presidents, we will do everything in our power to defend your rights. Thank you.
Thank you, JJ. And Alan?
It may seem like there are 4 ballots here tonight, but really, there are only 2. You can vote for my fellow candidates who are well-intentioned, but they're going to just be like last year's presidents and the year before and the year before and do nothing and keep making a fool of ASG. Or there's us. We are the greatest fear of ASG. Why? Because we are not afraid to be who we are. And we are college students at the end of the day. And I am wearing this wig because when I walked in, I was trying to wear this wig. I was trying to wear a burger costume, and they said, this is professional. But we're college students. I don't get paid for this. Nobody here gets paid for this. And this is like the most unprofessional, unserious job ever. So like, why do we care? Like, just vote for me. I'm gonna demolish Tech. I'm gonna ban Epstein. I'm gonna put Deer on Daring. And I'm gonna annex you Chicago. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Gowrie?
I want to call on something that Alan just said, and that's that we don't need to be professional. We don't need to be stuck up. And none of my fellow presidents, none of the people that I've worked with have been, for one thing. But John and I want to be people you can come to all the time. You can text us, you can call us, you can DM us, whatever. We want to hear your thoughts. And we've already instituted ways to do that because in this political time, in this terrifying era, you need leaders who are radically optimistic, who want to fight for you, who will fight even when the battle looks unwinnable. And that's every single day. Some of my friends here have talked about fighting administration, and I feel the same way, but I think we need to do it intelligently. I don't think there's a point in being reckless and destroying a relationship with administration. I think there's a way to confidently and adequately communicate our worries with administration and fight for change, long institutional standing change. We hear you when you say that ASG can't do anything for you, and we understand. So let the people who know ASG the best help change that system for you. I never want any student to feel underrepresented or unrepresented at a school supposed to be a democratic hallmark. Let us change this for you. Let us be your representatives as we have been for the last couple of years, and we will do the best job that we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Yes, I'd like to touch on a couple points. First, I would like to say on the front of communication, we have reached out to over 40 student orgs since being put on this ballot. In the last 3 days, we've reached out to 40 student orgs, and of those 40 student orgs, 10 of them were affinity orgs. We're actively outside doing this work. And as I've said, we've already set up a voicemail phone line. If you call 872-254-3890, you can leave your message. We would love to hear from each and every one of you, and we'll give you a call back as soon as we possibly can. I would also like to point out that we have done it. NOR has put forth policy that is actively being implemented in the university today. And I have put forth policy that has actually been implemented in the real world, in the real government. I think that it's time that we take a step back from ASG. I have ASG experience. ASG experience is important. We both have that, but I think we need something a little different. I think we need the experience of someone who has actually done this in the real world, who has spoken with people who have shaken the world up and made big, large changes in order to get the change that we need in this university, because we can see right now, we have strong people, but they're still too afraid to stand up. So put your faith in me, put your faith in Noor, and trust Nick and Noor to be the nurturing this university needs just in the nick of time. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you to all of our candidates tonight for representing your tickets at this year's debate.
Now it's time for the students to have their say. Be on the lookout for an email from ASG about how to cast your ballot. Voting will start tomorrow at 7 p.m. and stay open until Saturday at 7 p.m.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you again for tuning in to this year's presidential debate. I'm Josh Singer from the Daily Northwestern.
And I'm Victoria Ryan from the Northwestern News Network. Tune back in next week at 8 p.m. for our PolitiCat special. Have a good night.